Welcome, fellow Disney Channel babes, whether you're from the nostalgic 90s
or the awkward aughts,
or you're giving Gen Z. We're glad that you're here.
I'm Gabriella.
And I'm Natalie, and this is the podcast where we rave
and sometimes roast
classic Disney Channel original movies.
You're listening to Once Upon a DCOM.
Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Once Upon a DCOM. Today we are discussing the Disney Channel original movie, the Lizzie McGuire Movie. Gabby, are you freaking out?
So excited.
Yes! Okay, but before we do that, we should probably introduce ourselves. So my name is Natalie, and this is my co-host, Gabby.
Hi!
We are some 20-somethings who are a little bit obsessed with Disney, and we wanted to start this podcast because as two people in the film and television industry, we kind of wanted to walk down memory lane and see how some of our favorite Disney Channel original movies hold up today.
Yeah, we are ripe for nostalgia. We grew up with this movie, with High School Musical, with the Cheetah Girls. And so we just wanted to have some fun, have some laughs with you guys, and hope you will join us on the journey because we are going to be exploring every single Disney Channel original movie. Each episode, we're going to evaluate a different one. So we hope you'll come along for the ride with us. This is going to be a good time.
Yes, we are going to kind of do it randomly. So not in timeline order. We're going to do like a little, random selection at the end of every episode to see what we're going to be discussing the next week. So you'll get to watch alongside us. I'm very, very excited.
Me too. This is going to be so much fun. And we're starting off with a killer here.
Yes. Oh, so good. So did you tell me, you've seen this movie before, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I grew up on the Lizzie McGuire Movie for sure.
Yes, same. I loved that show growing up too. Like I used to watch on repeat after school Lizzie McGuire.
So I need to make a confession just right here at the beginning. I need to be honest with you, be honest with our audience here. I have never seen the Lizzie McGuire show before. I have only seen the movie.
You're kidding. Gabby.
I am not.
Oh my gosh. Audience, I
knew you were going to react bad.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
Yes.
Okay, have you ever seen any of them?
No. I've never, like Disney shows or Lizzie McGuire?
No, any episode of Lizzie McGuire.
I've never seen a single episode of Lizzie McGuire before. Here's what happened. So growing up, my sister and I were more into Nickelodeon because everyone has their flaws, right?
Traitor.
I know. We were all into Drake and Josh and Timmy Turner and whatnot. And my cousins were like, hey, but have you tried Disney? And I was like, Disney's for kids. And they were like, you're wrong. We will prove you wrong. And it was right around the time I started joining like the Disney community and watching Disney Channel that this movie came out. And so, it was like constantly on a repeat every single day growing up. So I watched it a ton. But the show was over at that point. They were only doing reruns like late at night when I was already in bed because I was pretty young. So I knew the movie, grew up on it, love it to death. But yeah, never saw a single episode. Just never went back to it.
That is wild. We need to do a whole separate podcast where we watch the Lizzie McGuire show.
I would love that. I need to understand because there's so many things in this they reference. Like, I don't know who they're talking about with like the girl who's supposed to be valedictorian or like her other friend. I don't know who they're talking about.
Yeah.
No.
This is
I got nothing.
Life-shattering news, Gabby.
Well, and we'll get into this, but it might affect why I'm not as Team Gordo as most people are. Because I don't
Team
have
Gordo?
the bottom of the iceberg. No, I'm not saying I'm not Team Gordo. I'm saying I think most people are more obsessed with him and Lizzie getting together because they have been invested over the course of time. And for me, it's the course of the movie.
Wow. Oh, we have so much to talk about. Okay, but let's kick off the podcast with a little bit of info about the movie, okay? So, Lizzie McGuire Movie came out in 2003. This was the movie conclusion to the popular show Lizzie McGuire, which ran for 3 seasons on Disney Channel. The movie famously stars Hilary Duff. It's actually, I don't know if you knew this, Gabby, because I did not. This was the first ever Disney series movie spinoff that was released in theaters.
Really? I did not know that.
I know. And I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I wish that I had.
I honestly thought it was like High School Musical 3 was the first one that did that. So that's impressive.
I know. I had no idea, but that's what the internet says, and I believe everything the internet says, obviously. So,
A smart way to live, for sure, yeah.
right, right. Okay, let's hit the movie recap. Gabby, take it away.
Yes, I got this. All right, so the movie starts off with Lizzie McGuire graduating from the 8th grade. She's going from middle to high school in that glorious awkward phase that we've all experienced. Although I don't truly believe Hilary Duff ever had an awkward phase, in my personal opinion. So they're graduating the 8th grade, and for their 8th grade field trip, they had one of two options. You could either go to like Water Slide Wonderland, a very reasonable 8th grade trip, in my opinion, or Rome, because for some reason, they had the funding to go to Rome in 8th grade. What a
Would
cultural
you like
experience.
this expensive dark chocolate cacao nut flavored chocolate bar or a piece of broccoli?
That's exactly what it is. And like apparently, because there's only 10 kids on this round trip, so apparently like 90% of the school chose Water Slide Wonderland. Which
It's
like for
wild.
my 8th grade trip, we went to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania. An awesome 8th grade trip. Super exciting. But like
I didn't even
had I had
have
the
an 8th grade
option,
trip, so honestly, you're winning.
wow. Well, had I had the option, I would have gone to Europe too. I couldn't tell if maybe this was just like the people that were on the like what is it called when you're like president and treasurer and like
Oh no,
that
because I'll tell
group.
you what, Ethan was not on that list.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. So it's just random kids who are like, I don't want to go to Rome. That sounds dumb. Take me to Water Slide Wonderland. So, okay, so Lizzie is on her way to Rome with her friend Gordo, and they decide Rome in and of itself is not enough of an adventure. They need to find adventure while they're there before starting the horrors that are high school. And so they arrive in Rome, and they're at the Trevi Fountain, and they're making wishes about their adventures. And wouldn't you know it, Lizzie McGuire just happens upon a famous pop star named Paolo, who is like
Paolo.
honestly top tier famous, like very, very well known on all the billboards. And he informs her that she just so happens to be the identical twin, barring her hair color, of Isabella, his singing partner, who also ironically happens to be out of the country at the moment and ironically is being sued. And so he tells Lizzie that the only way to save pop star Isabella is to impersonate her as an American and tell everyone that she's dyed her hair and practicing her English. And Lizzie can take over the role of Isabella for this temporary time while they are about to go to an award show and give some award, which will be in the Coliseum. And so Lizzie has a choice to make. Does she stay true to her friends and her school trip and stay with Gordo and Kate and Ethan and Mrs. Ungermeyer on the school trip and learn about, you know, I don't know, I assume different paintings? Or does she impersonate this famous pop star and hang out with the very handsome, very Italian Paolo? And she makes the correct choice and ditches her school trip and goes to hang out with Paolo.
Correct choice. Correct. She definitely makes the choice that makes the movie more interesting. I'll give you that.
She also makes the choice anybody I know would have made at 13 years old. Let me just tell you that, had I been there. Anyways, okay, so Lizzie decides to sneak away from her school, and her friend Gordo is so sweet. And he's like, yeah, no, that's a great idea. I will help you. I will cover for you while you're gone. Have fun. So Lizzie starts impersonating this pop star. And through the course of the movie, she kind of finds out that, like, oh, they're actually also going to have to sing at this event. And it's kind of a huge deal. So she's taking singing lessons and dancing. And she comes to find out that Isabella actually cannot sing. She lip syncs. And Paolo is trying to go solo, but he still loves Isabella as a sister, of course, not romantically.
Right.
Of course.
So that channel's still open, just in case, Lizzie has any thoughts.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's just as a sister. So anyways, he still wants to protect Isabella's career since she doesn't have the voice for it. And so he's teaching Lizzie how to lip sync, and they're going to do this whole award situation. It's going to be great. Well, then drama strikes because in the background, what I haven't told you is that Lizzie's little brother, for some reason, has decided to ruin her life, and he is out to get her to out her to the Italian government and tabloids through blackmail. And
Right.
to go about this, he convinces his parents that Lizzie is probably going to be abducted by an Italian guy and they need to go over there and get her out, which kind
Mhm.
of is happening. So like he's not wrong actually.
Yeah, low
Like
key, he might have saved her life. I don't know. I mean, who's to say?
that might be a bit overstating it, but he did probably save her life. So yeah, so in the
Justice,
background, he's
justice
like
for Lizzie's little brother.
yeah, right. So in the background, Lizzie's family is on their way to Rome to get her the heck out so that she's not, killed by Italian pop stars, although they don't know about the pop star thing yet. And also, Gordo takes the fall for one of the days that she's missing and she's about to get found out, and he takes the fall for her punishment. So he's getting sent home. So the climax of the movie is when all of this comes together. And while Gordo is at the airport, he hears across the terminal with his supersonic hearing that the
Mhm.
true pop star Isabella is here. She's back in town and she wants to know who this Lizzie McGuire is that's been impersonating her. So he
Mhm.
rushes over. They have a conversation. They form a plan. Meanwhile, Lizzie's family shows up. They're trying to find Lizzie. Nobody can find her because she's at the Coliseum getting ready for her presentation with Paolo. And in a twist of events, we learn he's been lying the
A
whole
liar.
time.
A liar.
He is a deceiver. And so he has told Lizzie all these things. Basically, everything he told her, flip it. It's not true. Isabella's not the one who can't sing. He is the lip syncer. And this whole thing has been a ploy because he doesn't love Isabella. He wants to ruin her career and he's going to use Lizzie to do it. And so Isabella, the true Isabella, and Gordo rush to tell Lizzie this information. And Lizzie is, as he would be, conflicted. Do I believe my best friend of however many years and this pop star girl? Or do I believe the love of my life that I met 3 days ago who tells me I shine with the light of 1,000 suns? And Lizzie is conflicted and doesn't know what to do. But thankfully, in the end, she doesn't really have to make a choice. She goes out on stage to do her thing, and Isabella and Gordo save the day. They out Paolo in front of the entire nation of Italy on live television. Everybody knows he can't sing. Lizzie gets to perform, and we get our classic, iconic song, This Is What Dreams Are Made Of. She does her
Yes, the
dance.
anthem. The anthem
It's
that is that song.
it's the song that has pushed us all through difficult times in our lives. And from there, her parents forgive her because reasons. And her
Mhm.
brother gets his blackmail video thrown in a fountain because the Italian Navy deems it unworthy. And her and Gordo end up kissing on a rooftop under the fireworks. And
Yeah, they
it's
do.
great. And
Oh,
everything
yeah,
is
they
great in the
do.
end. And then
Mhm.
I assume they go on to high school. And that is the Lizzie McGuire movie.
Yes, and I must add the best part of the finale is twofold. One, Mrs. Ungermeyer and Sergey have a moment, and you're like, yes, I'm living for that relationship. And
Shipping.
two, Ethan and Kate have spaghetti. And like, come on, wasn't that what we were waiting for the entire movie?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even mention that also in the background, Lizzie has all these schoolmates that are also in Rome with her, the other
Mm-hmm.
9 people that didn't go to Waterslide Wonderland. And Kate is one of Lizzie's, I guess, old friends and now enemy, arch nemesis, who she's kind of
Mm-hmm.
rooming with. And so Kate kind of finds out about the whole thing, but like doesn't out her. And then Ethan is like kind of like this skater punk dude who's rooming with Gordo. And he also, I just realized this time viewing it around, like he knows the whole time because
Oh,
he's
he sure
hearing
does.
Lizzie and Gordo talk. And
Yeah.
he's just not saying anything.
Oh, yeah.
So like he's there. And
He's a
they,
bro.
I guess, they used to date, but now they're not. But now they are again at the end of
Kate
the movie.
and Ethan. Yes, Kate and Ethan.
Yeah, Kate and
not
Ethan.
Lizzie and Ethan.
Right. To be clear. Yeah,
Mhm.
so they're pretty funny background characters. I enjoy them a lot.
I will say this, I guess we can kind of talk into how we loved the movie as kids and what we think of it as adults. But let me just say, this movie is so funny. Like,
It
so
is.
funny. All the side characters, the lines, like genuinely watching it this time around to prep for this podcast, I was laughing out loud.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. It's truly funny in like a mature way that I can continue to laugh throughout the years. It
Yeah.
holds up very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So, what did you think of it as a kid?
As a kid, I loved it. I wanted it to happen to me. I went to Italy with my family when I was 18 and like threw a quarter in the Trevi Fountain. And I
Mhm.
kid you not, I truly believe that when I opened my eyes, there would be someone there being like, do you know you look like my best friend Italian pop star? You should help me. No, I loved it.
And
I truly loved it.
and as clarification for the viewers at home, did that happen to you?
No.
Mm, yeah, that's a massive
You would have
disappointment. I'm so
known by
sorry.
now.
Yes,
It was
I
disappointing.
absolutely adored this movie as a kid. Like I said, I watched the show, so when that series ended, like, you know, there weren't going to be more episodes, we were sad, but there was a
Mhm.
movie and like made it larger than life, and it was just so good. And I actually owned the CD for like the soundtrack, and I probably listened to that CD more than I watched the movie. Like
The
I
soundtrack is killer.
It's
Every
so
song.
good. Yes, every single song. I was watching it with my husband this time around, and like he was like, "Why do you know every word to every single one of these songs?" I was like,
The
"I
real
don't
question is,
listen."
Chase, how do you not?
Yeah, like how do you not, Chase, calling you out? How do you not? I have to side note really quick and say Chase like was eating lunch with me watching this, and he didn't want to watch it. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to see this movie." And I was like, "You don't have to sit here and watch it with me." He watched the whole thing and he loved it. He finished
Right?
the movie and turned to me and said, "I didn't remember that being so good."
Amen, Chase. On the other side, my husband, Nick, who also I would just like to point out is from a different country. He's Colombian, so it's not Italian, but I'm pretty sure this movie instilled the desire in me to marry somebody not from America. So just saying, in a sense, I did. I did get what I wanted.
You
It's
did, you
just
did.
20
And
years
you know
later.
what? Nick is just as dreamy, if not more dreamy than Paolo.
I would surely say more. We'll get into that later. Not Nick, but Paolo. But no,
Okay.
I was like, bro, so I need to watch this. Well, I get to watch this movie for the podcast. It's Lizzie McGuire movie. And before I even asked, do you want to watch it? He was like, when are we watching? That's like my favorite movie. We're in our late 20s. And he was like, but like tonight, can we watch it tonight? I was like,
He's like,
yes,
"I want
yes,
to
we
watch it
can.
right now, Gabby."
And we enjoyed every moment just as much as when we were kids.
I love it. Okay, do
Yeah,
we
so it
want to
holds up.
Yeah, I think it totally holds up. Do we want to talk a little bit about like some discussion points?
Of course, yeah, I'm so ready for it. First
Yeah.
of all, in terms of it holding up, I do just want to note, not all of it holds up. Like there is definitely some humor and some moments and some
Mhm.
accents that I was like, okay, socially, it doesn't hold up like 1,000%. But in terms of
Right.
like the like how much I love it and enjoy it, like that has held up. And I think it's even more now that I like it because there's that factor of nostalgia, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I think I I truly loved the movie. Truly think it's hilarious. My enjoyment level is at a true 100%. But I think that the acting leaves a little something to be desired. Pretty much from
In
everyone
some
all around.
cases. Oh, really? I thought some of them were pretty good.
You know, Mrs. Ungermeyer nailed it. Everyone else, I was like,
Her
those were
character
some
is
choices.
a bit less nuanced than anyone
Yeah,
else's. She's pretty
yeah.
much just one beat throughout. You know, that brings up an interesting point that I think we're going to run into as we continue to watch these different Disney movies. That is just constantly true that there's always the sense that adults are just idiots, like
Oh, yeah.
bumbling idiots that can be easily
Mhm.
manipulated and they just hate kids and like don't want to see them truly succeed.
Yeah.
They have like very selfish motivations, and that just continues to be true. So I'm just saying right now, here at the beginning, I don't like that. I don't think it holds up well, but we're going to
Mm-mm.
continue to see it. And that's like 1,000% true in this movie.
Right. I wonder, and we'll have to see as the podcast continues, but like, I wonder at what decade that stopped being true. Because, like, I don't think
Yeah.
that in Disney Channel movies being made now, the parents are like that, but I could be wrong. I don't
No.
know.
I haven't seen many more recent ones, which I'm sure we will as we go down the line, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Well, how old is Descendants? That's probably the most recent one I've seen.
Like 2015, I think, something in there.
Oh my gosh. That's almost 10
Are those
years ago.
parents dumb? I don't think that they're
Yeah.
dumb.
They're evil and crazy and dumb, or the
Listen, they're
Beast
definitely
parents.
one-dimensional, but I don't know if they're dumb.
Well, maybe
But
not
this
the
isn't a podcast
villains.
about the Descendants.
Okay, yeah. We will save that for later. The point is, I don't know when it changed either. or if it's changed.
We will have to see, and listeners, you will have to see as well.
Yeah, we will get to Descendants eventually, and I look forward to it greatly.
Oh,
So,
same.
anyways,
Okay,
what talking points did you have?
I want to talk real quick about how in this movie, almost all of the characters, or at least Lizzie and her friends, are 13 or 14 years old.
False.
But
False.
like 8th grade graduates going to Italy for 2 weeks, supervised by exactly one adult, one chaperone, at this very fancy hotel where they're
So
allowed to stay in their
unrealistic.
own rooms. And the doors aren't locked because Mrs. Ungermeyer goes and opens the doors from the hallway. Those doors aren't locked.
Oh, that would okay. We'll talk about that.
Yep, yeah. And like they just like let them free in Italy. Like,
I know.
yes, she's there and she's leading a tour, kind of, but she just lets these literal children, these 13-year-old children, loose in a foreign country. And Paolo is like, I looked it up and it said he was probably 17 or 18. She is 13 or 14. And he is 17
it's
or 18.
So creepy. The
And
creep
like,
factor is real in this movie on multiple counts. So, okay, you went a different direction than I thought you were going with this. I thought you were going to say none of them look that young because they don't. And that was another trope in old movies and TV is like they're way older actors playing younger people. But yes, you're right. Like she at one point she's like, take a shopping break. I'm gonna go choke down an espresso. And I'm like, where are you going?
Yeah,
Like,
you can't leave these children.
them.
Yeah, you were the only supervisor of this field trip.
I know. And like, oh, another incompetent adult, the concierge guy has like no idea what's going on, which like maybe it's an act because at the end he's like very aware of what's happening with the brother. But in the whole rest of the movie, he just seems like completely incapable of doing anything. And
but
she's just like,
honest,
yeah,
he's my favorite.
He's the other security guard.
Yeah. She's like, he used to be in the Navy or something. Like, oh, goodness gracious.
But the other ick factor I wanted to bring up, you mentioned about the doors. I was so uncomfortable as someone who works with students often when she went into Ethan's room and closed the door behind her to have a conversation with him. I was like, Gordo is not in there. You are alone in the bedroom of a 13-year-old boy in a foreign country in your bathrobe. Unacceptable.
Yep. No, I thought that too. Yeah. There's just little things where, again, you're like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't track.
Yeah. And like just the realism of the whole thing, like and plot aside, like how they get into the Coliseum for the event, the parents and Miss Ungermeyer like knock down the security guards like bowling pins and then get front row seats. Like at an event of this caliber, no, you did not just do that. That didn't work.
So fun. Okay, I got another discussion point I want to talk about. And since you've never seen the show, you might have a different opinion. But I want to talk about the Gordo romance that never was.
What do you mean never was?
So this entire movie, we are like, Paolo, no. It's Gordo. Paolo, no. It's Gordo. And the entire time, you know, he's doing his little like sad puppy dog faces at the camera. And you're like, yes, Gordo, go get her. Let her know how much you love her. And he doesn't. And then at the end, she kisses him for 0.2 seconds. And then he says, thank you. And they go inside. And that's it.
That's it.
For 3 years, I watched this show and I wanted more than thank you and go inside.
But isn't that so true, Natalie, of middle school? You like kiss and that's the epitome of everything. And you're just
I don't care.
I've peaked.
I don't care.
I've peaked.
I needed more. Which is why when they were going to have the Lizzie McGuire reboot, the one that never happened, I wanted that so badly.
You know what it's giving? It's giving Ross, Rachel, and ironically Paolo in Friends.
Why are all Italian men named Paolo? Think about this from Princess Diaries, where the designer's name is Paolo as well. Why is everyone Paolo?
I don't know. I think it's the Italian name for Paul, and Paul is like a very big figure in the Roman Catholic Church.
I
So
think not
I
a
think
lot
that's
of
why.
Italian men are actually named that, and Disney might just be racist.
Oh, well, that is a hot take that Disney's racist, Natalie.
Maybe
What
not
else is new?
racist, just culturist, Italianist. I don't know.
Well, the fake accents alone would definitely
Yeah.
confirm that.
Yeah.
Lizzie, I love Hilary Duff. I think she's so sweet and amazing, but her as Isabella is a little cringy.
It's
The
a little
accent.
painful to watch, but in the best
Yeah.
way.
And
Also, she
same with
looks
the
great with
concierge
dark
guy.
hair.
She does. Oh my gosh, I loved her look as Isabella. You know what's funny? I noticed this as an adult. There's a couple things that I want to touch on. Like as an adult viewing it, I noticed more. One of them was that her outfit is as Isabella at the what is it called? The big building.
Colosseum?
What's Coliseum? Thank you. When they're there, what Isabella is wearing is actually very similar to what we see her trying on in the fashion show scene. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's supposed to be so like, ha ha, no one would ever wear that. But like, Isabella probably would have worn a lot of those outfits. They just looked
Yeah,
weird on Lizzie. But she's wearing an outfit almost identical to the last one that Lizzie has on in that
that's
scene,
fair. Minus the crazy wig, yeah.
minus the crazy wig. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as an adult watching it, I did not understand this line as a kid, but I love it now. When Kate catches her coming back from that scene, when she's doing the makeovers, she like comes in and says the line about like, "Oh my gosh, I knew it the second I walked in the lobby. Your eyebrows match, your hair has highlights, and I smelled acetone the second I walked in here." And like as a kid, I didn't know what acetone was, but now as an adult, I'm like, "That's awesome." Kate would
Yes.
know that.
Yes. Kate is so funny to me. Like, obviously she's a mean girl. Obviously we're like not supposed to like her, but I don't know, in this movie she surprises you.
Yeah, I understand her motivations. And I think that's really important when you're writing characters that you understand why they're making the choices that they are. And on paper, it makes no sense for Kate to not rat out Lizzie, right? She probably should.
Mhm.
But it's like you can tell she's just curious and she wants to see how this plays out. And she kind of like wants this for Lizzie in like some deep, dark part of her being that she won't admit. And she likes to be a part of it in some way. So it's like you understand
Yeah.
why she kind of helps, you know, because she's like at the Coliseum that night. She's like there, like supporting
Right.
her.
Right. I think also so Kate was like this is going to turn into a justice for Kate like campaign, but I feel like she was supposed to go on like the what is it called, water park tour, right? With her
Oh,
friends. Like they
yeah.
even say that. And then instead she shows up on this trip. So like she is going to this foreign country for 2 weeks and she doesn't have any of her friends there. And I
That's
think like
true.
in this moment like it gives her an opportunity to see Lizzie again in a different light and like maybe actually see her as a friend because she's lonely. She doesn't have any friends there. And maybe her friends are a bad influence on her, you know? So she's in
Mhm.
Italy, she's seeing it in a new light, and she really wants to like have a friend in Italy. She wants to like not hate her time there and not feel so alone. And Lizzie is giving her an opportunity to be a part of something. And I feel like that's a huge reason of why she doesn't tell anyone.
Oh, Natalie, that's beautiful. I like that.
Yeah. Justice for Kate,
Yeah,
even though she's
justice for
horrible in the
Kate.
TV show.
Really? I
Yes,
wouldn't
she's the
know.
worst.
Do we see them be friends? Because they say at the beginning, like, oh, they used to be best friends. Do we see that in the show?
I don't think so. I think that like that happens like right before the series. Like they were friends in elementary school and then like middle school started and like they're not friends anymore.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to what we were saying about Gordo,
Mhm.
and the romance there. I want to be clear. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the whole Paolo romance and like Lizzie getting swept up and all this stuff. And I thought Paolo was just adorable. Now, looking at it, I'm like, this man is ugly. Speaking of Paolo. And I was
He
like, I need
is.
a more attractive male lead to combat the sweet heart that Gordo has. And
I
also he's
know.
cute. Like, I do want
He's
him and
so
Lizzie together.
cute. I know. Yeah, no, Paolo's ugly. And I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, I thought it too.
Well, I didn't as a kid, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, what happened? Why? I do
I
like
don't
his
know, man.
singing voice when they have the good singing voice. I was like, all right, talent crush. I could see it, you know? But
You
then,
don't
oh
like
my
it
gosh,
at
I
the
love
end?
when he
Oh,
does.
oh, oh.
Oh.
It's
Oh, we
so
haven't even talked
good.
about the most iconic line from this movie. I bet you we could
On
say
the
it
count of
together.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Sing to
Sing
me,
to me,
Paolo.
Paolo. I have a shirt that says that. I should have worn it. I should have worn it to this
Oh.
recording.
We'll
That's
take a
mine.
video and put it on TikTok.
Yes.
I quote that a lot. Another thing I quote all the time is the concierge when the parents are trying to get information out of him and he's like not getting it. And he's like, see, we are in the travel guide. I think I say that weekly.
The language barrier humor is so good. He's like, yes, Lizzie, Lizzie. Okay, it's far. I'll call you a cab.
Yeah.
What? And the umbrella scene. Oh
Oh, that
my
is so
gosh.
iconic.
It's
The
so
slapstick
funny.
humor is really good.
It's so good. It's so good.
It really is. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
I
clearly
love this
we
movie.
thought this movie was excellent. But I'm curious, what does everyone else think?
An excellent question. So I have Rotten Tomatoes pulled up here. Are you ready for these scores?
I don't think I am. I think people are going to hate it, and that's going to make me angry.
It will. So the ironic thing is, I also looked up the Lizzie McGuire show to see what people said. So the Lizzie
Okay.
McGuire show had a tomato score of 90% from the critics.
That's good, right?
Yeah,
You want it to be
good.
high, right?
You want it to be high.
Okay,
And the
yeah, that's
audience
great.
score was 80%.
Okay,
Lower than
yeah.
the critics. Like, for the show.
I think, yeah, it's not for everyone. It's really for teenage girls, like tween girls.
Now, that's not true for the movie.
Okay.
The movie, the critic score is 40%.
You're joking.
40. I kind of expected that.
Okay, well, the only bad thing they have to say, I'm sure, is that the plot doesn't make sense, but everything else is perfect.
I'll read you some reviews from the critics here so we can see. Okay, here is my favorite critic review from Josh Bell. It says, a fantasy that teaches girls that popularity and material possessions are the most important things in life and will fall right into your lap if you're adorable enough, which I believed full force as a child. Because of movies like this.
Okay, Josh Bell. I don't think that's what this movie is teaching.
And yet it did accomplish that.
All right, fine. Okay, what else? What else did the people say?
Here's a positive one. So it says, passable entertainment for the young teen set that's far from memorable, but at least offers a few sparks of life.
Excuse me? Far from memorable? How many times do you sing those songs in the shower, sir? Because mine is every day.
Okay, well, that's some of the critics. Let's go to, so the audience score for the movie is only 41%. So only
what is wrong with people?
No. I misread my rating. 49%.
Well, that's
so
not 9% much better, Gabby.
Higher. I know. 49 from the audience. It's got the little sad popcorn bucket like poured out on the side.
Wow.
And so, but the funny thing is, looking just at what people said, there are not many low reviews just at the top of this review list. Here's some of my favorites from the audience. This movie is what dreams are made of.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest movie of all time.
Yes.
Hey now, this movie is amazing. 40% is too low. Great plot. I mean, I feel like that represents the general.
But
it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's fair.
It may not be perfect in terms of realistic sense, but it's perfect for those who want closure to the Lizzie McGuire saga and a little bit of nostalgia to fill your heart with fluff. Oh, I like that one.
Yes, that's perfect. That's the perfect review.
Yeah,
that's
that one was
exactly
good.
what I think about it too.
I agree. Yeah. So, people didn't love it when it came out, but I think it has aged really well in our hearts. Maybe not socially or culturally.
Yeah, I want to know what our listeners think. What do you guys think about this movie? Was this something you loved growing up? Is it something you like as an adult? Please rewatch it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, I was shocked by the lack of diversity because nowadays in movies you're just seeing so much diversity
Oh,
in
for
every
sure.
sense of the word. Not even just race, but cultural diversity and all different kinds. So it was interesting to see like it's just white people the whole
Mhm.
time, and
Mhm.
that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But that's how a lot
If
of
they
movies
made
were
this
then.
movie now, I imagine a lot of things would be different.
Oh, for sure. I don't even think you could remake it in a very similar way nowadays. It would have to be so different.
Yeah. I think that some people would take a objection to the age difference between Paolo and Lizzie.
Oh, for sure. He's supposed to be how old?
Like
17?
18, 17 or 18, and she's 13 or 14.
Gross.
And
That's
granted,
gross.
that's like 3 to 4 years, but when you're that young, that's a big chunk.
A huge age difference. And she wouldn't look, because I think Hilary Duff was probably in her late teens filming this.
She was
So it,
16.
yeah, so it doesn't feel as icky. But
Yeah.
if she actually looked 13, it would feel very icky. Another
Right.
thing I've noticed in like modern TV shows and movies and stuff is everything is an ensemble cast. You don't have many side characters that don't have character arcs or plots or whatever. And
Mhm.
in this one, it's just back in that era where like the main character was the main character and everyone else was either like comedic relief or a supporting role or the villain. And
Mhm.
I feel like if they remade it today, I'm not saying this is bad or anything, but it would be more of like an ensemble cast. You'd have way more characters like surrounding Lizzie that would also have a lot of arcs to themselves. Whereas in this one, it's like Ethan and Kate kind of like make trouble and like eat spaghetti together.
So
Gordo backs up Lizzie. The end.
what you're telling me is that Gordo would have had more screen time if it was made today. Done, sold, sign the paperwork, make it now.
Yeah, I think it would. I
Okay.
would love for them to remake it. It would just be so different.
Yeah. Well, sadly, there was supposed to be the spinoff. The show was supposed to come back, and it got canceled in 2020 due to quote creative differences. So it is a revival that will never be.
Wait, like it was canceled pre-pandemic?
Yeah, so they had started. I looked this up beforehand. They had written 3 episodes. They'd already filmed 2 of them, but then
Oh.
decided not to go through with it like in 2020 because apparently Hilary Duff, who was an executive producer, disagreed with Disney about where the storyline should go. And so they canceled it.
Oh. Who was all coming back for it?
Everyone, literally everyone. Yeah. So actually, thank you, Gabby. This is an excellent turn into where are they now?
I
Um,
was just about to ask.
yes, 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 yes. Okay, so I want to start by saying I did look up where everyone is now. Some of them just aren't doing very interesting things. So I just picked the highlights, right?
Okay,
If I didn't
sounds good.
mention them, it means they're still acting but haven't done anything big in a while. No
Okay,
shade
hit
to
me with
them.
them.
They're still working. They're doing great, but we're going to start here. So, Lizzie,
Mhm.
obviously, this series and this film launched the career for Hilary Duff.
Love
She's
her. Love
she
everything she's
is
done.
immaculate. You know, she's gone on to star in practically like a million movies in the early 2000s, including one of my favorites, A Cinderella Story.
I knew it.
Um,
I was going to say it.
that's so good. And she
That movie
also,
has a strong, hot male lead. I would just like to
oh,
point
it
out.
sure does. It sure does. And one of the best monologues, in my opinion.
I memorized that for an audition once.
So proud of you. So Hilary Duff also released 5 studio albums. She most recently led the Hulu series How I Met Your Father, which was a spinoff of How I Met Your Mother. She's married. She's got 3 kids. She is living her best life, and she is still
Aw,
acting.
I'm happy for her. Good
Yeah.
for her.
Adam Lamberg, who played Gordo, he actually stopped acting shortly after this movie came out. He went on, he finished high school, he went to college, and according to my very meticulous internet research, he now does fundraising and events consulting in New York City. But
interesting turn.
he was planning on making his acting like return in the Lizzie McGuire reboot that was canceled.
No.
We could have seen him again and we missed it.
Darn.
And personally, I'm devastated.
I'm sure you are. I would be more devastated if I maybe had watched the show. Sorry.
Which you will be as soon as we stop recording this podcast, obviously, right?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the last one I want to talk about, because this is so fun to me. Ashley Brilalt, I think is her last name. So who played Kate, the mean girl Kate.
Okay.
So she also ended her acting career after this film. But very interesting, she pursued a law degree and she is now a lawyer.
Really? I could see
I
it.
know.
She looks like a lawyer in this movie.
Exactly, doesn't she? I'm like,
She's got the
I
hair.
can see her like going into like a deposition. Is that what they're called? I don't know anything about being a lawyer, but like going into like a speech in front of the jury and being like, yes, girl, yes, you're doing so good.
Good for her.
I know.
I know Mrs. Ungermeyer. I don't know if she did this before or after, because I don't know when it came out. She has a very small role in Kicking and Screaming. Have you ever seen that with Will Ferrell?
I have, yes.
It's like the only other thing I know her in, but every time I see it, I'm like, Mrs. Ungermeyer.
Yes. Listen, Mrs. Ungermeyer, her parents, like her dad and her mom, the kid who plays her little brother, who's now not a kid anymore, and Ethan, like all of them, they're still acting. They're still doing things. It just wasn't anything big. And I kind of thought it was more interesting to talk about the people who became, professional fundraisers and
regular
law degree
people
and musicians. I just find that so fascinating. Because like the pipeline of child star to like regular career life is just so fascinating to me.
I know. I feel like it happened more regularly and in a more like acceptable way back in the early 2000s and 90s. Nowadays, it's like almost impossible, it seems.
I know. But I wonder if anyone ever stops like Ashley and is like, you're my lawyer. Weren't you on Lizzie McGuire? Like, I would. I don't know.
I totally would. Oh, that's awesome. I really like that piece of information.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. And that is the Lizzie McGuire movie.
Yeah. First one in the books.
Yes.
Such a great way to start, too. You know what's so iconic as well that we didn't even mention? The dance at the end. I don't even know if it's Hilary Duff. I think it's like her body double when she spreads out her arms and it's like the shot from the back and she does a little
and she's
shimmy
doing her
thing.
Little like shake.
We all know it.
It's so fun.
You can't listen to that song without doing the little shimmy shake.
All right. At the end of every single episode, we are going to use a random selector tool on the intranets to decide which Disney Channel original movie we're going to watch for the following week.
And eventually we will get through all of them. Like this is selecting from like every DCOM available to us.
Oh, yes.
I have the tool. Are we ready?
Okay. Let's do it. What are we watching?
Here we go. All right. I am spinning.
Okay.
Oh, it made a fun little bloopy sound in my headphones. I am so happy.
Okay, tell me.
Oh my goodness. It is singing. The tool I have selected is singing in my ears. It's just such a good day. Okay, I am going to try and describe the movie to you.
Are you going to make me guess
try
it?
And guess it. Yeah, you're going to have to guess it.
Is it one I know for sure?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You know this film.
Okay, hit me with it.
Okay. Popular guy and unpopular girl team up to combine two very separate worlds.
Is it High School Musical?
Yes!
I'm gonna vomit. You're kidding. No,
it is.
Oh, listeners. Okay, everybody, listen up. Turn up your headphones. If you're driving, pull over. High School Musical is my favorite thing in the world. People need to know this about me. Gabby, I will cry in this next episode. I love High School Musical.
I know. That's why I was so excited when that's what came out.
Oh my gosh. I have chills. I have full body chills. I'm so excited.
Well, I was like, Troy Bolton. So hard to describe this in a way that's not obvious or without using the name high school, the words high school. I'm so excited. I love High School Musical.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Which one's your favorite of the three?
The third, obviously. The third one.
Oh, No hesitation.
No hesitation.
None.
I have zero hesitation.
I think the first one's my favorite, but I have to give it more thought.
Excited. Listeners, are you equally as excited? Did you have full body chills when you heard this? Because same.
Also, don't forget to leave us a comment talking about how you think the Lizzie McGuire movie held up, what you thought about it as a kid, and would you like to see it remade today?
And who would you cast?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our very first episode of Once Upon a DCOM. We hope you will enjoy this entire journey with us. Come back next week, watch High School Musical, get ready with your cafeteria school nachos, your singing voices, and your Wildcats jersey. What team?
Wildcats, come on, let's go.
Get your head in the game. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Once Upon a DCOM.
Like what you just heard? Leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at onceuponadcom.podcast and share this podcast with your Disney-loving friends.
A big thanks to Gabby for editing this whole podcast together.
Thanks, friend. And don't forget to subscribe because there's always a new episode on the way. This is Gabriella
and Natalie
signing off with a sprinkle of pixie dust
and a whole lot of nostalgia.